Nowadays, if some critic is bringing up Sandra Bullock's The Blind Side, it's usually to dunk on its quintessential white savior narrative. Its focus is on the heroism of Sandra Bullock's character, whose name is Leanne, for basically adopting a homeless black teenager named Michael that she barely knows and giving him the tools he needs to eventually play football for the NFL. The movie turns Michael into a stupid and subservient little lamb to make the story more about Leanne's heroism than Michael's determination.
Do you have any place to stay tonight? Don't you dare lie to me.
His personhood is simplified down to that of a Pokemon. She literally catches him in the wild and trains him to be the very best there ever was. But I guess because I just finished a lengthy dissection of The Passion of the Christ, which is going to drop on the main channel next week, I've had Christianity just on the brain lately, and The Blind Side's portrait of Christianity is super strange. The Blind Side is one of the most profitable sports movies ever made, and Christian audiences were a big part of that success. It's the rare movie that takes place within present-day Christian culture, which is about how faith in God makes someone a better person instead of a hypocrite. Sandra Bullock explicitly says that the reason she helps Michael is because she thinks that's what God would want her to do. The family prays together quite often, and this is presented as not only a positive thing, but also a normal thing. As I've referenced multiple times at this point, I grew up in a very Christian household, and I remember being struck by how intimately that movie understands the personalities and rhythms that populated my specifically Southern version of Christianity. The unabashedly cheesy sense of humor, the salty, no-nonsense practicality of a lot of the women, and the good old boy dads who are a little awkward in their middle age when they have to stop joking around. The movie also really accurately dramatizes a lot of Christians' obsession with football. It's probably the thing that gets Christians excited the most, second only to God himself, and for some Christians that is a close second. And as stupid as racist as that scene is of Sandra Bullock interrupting practice to teach Michael how to tackle somebody.
You protect his blind side. When you look at him, you think of me, how you have my back, how you have his.
It also stirs up long-buried memories for me of similar ladies just non-stop screaming from the sidelines in this strangely rhythmic pattern as if they were reciting some kind of motivational beat poetry. Go, 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 go. You got to catch the ball. Catch it, catch it. Go, go. There it goes. Go, 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 go. You got this, Randy. I see you over there, Chad. Hit him like you mean it. Hit him. Go, 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 go. Yeah! I forgot my baby's asleep in the next room. Dang, my door's not even closed. I think we're okay, though. Despite all of this, I find it really interesting how deceptively bleak this movie's portrait of Christianity is. A lot of the conflict comes from the people in Sandra Bullock's church being really racist, even by this movie's standards. They worry that Michael might, sneak into her teenage daughter's room and, I guess, force himself on her. And they feel like Sandra Bullock is helping Michael, just to prove how much better she is than everyone. As much as The Blind Side aims to be about how a woman's faith inspires her to be kind, that kindness is also considered too radical for a church that is supposedly built on a foundation of divine love. Hi everyone, editing Nathan here in my weirder, grainier phone camera. I'm realizing that the church is maybe the wrong phrasing, or at least a little too not quite specific enough, because there actually aren't any scenes in a church in The Blind Side, but it does take place in a Christian school, and pretty much everyone in Leanne's world are people from that school. So Christian culture is probably a more accurate term, even though most of these characters probably do go to church. So why would Christians respond to a movie like this? Well, maybe partly because this conflict is juggled between Michael's efforts to stay in school and succeed in football, as well as Leanne's attempts to save Michael from the ghetto.
You threaten my son. You threaten me.
So Christian hypocrisy isn't exactly like the obstacle of the whole film as much as it is an obstacle. But I think it also speaks to a frustration that builds up in a lot of Christians who go to church week after week. On one hand, you hear all these sermons about how God made you to go out into the world and, love people and change them. And on the other hand, everybody you know goes to your church. Who is it that you're supposed to be loving? It's not unlike the feeling I get sometimes when I watch some big social justice video essay about how terrible the world is, and then the video ends and it's like, well, I mean, rock on, but I guess I'm just gonna go do the dishes now. Pastors in particular, I've noticed, really hate this loop of apathy, presumably because it makes them feel like they're just devoting their life to entertaining a bunch of people who are barely listening. And so their sermons will often unfavorably compare those who go to church only out of a sense of comforting routine with real Christians. Pastors love words like radical and revolution when they talk about spirituality. And The Blind Side offers Christians the fantasy of being that real Christian, rising above the sleepy masses and actually saving somebody who needs saving in a tangible way. I can't express enough just how useless I used to feel knowing that I had never saved anybody before. I mean, I was usually too embarrassed to even try. I didn't even really know what it means. How do you go about that? Like approaching someone and be like, hi, I cannot help but notice you are damned. How would you like to come to church? What? That's weird. It's a weird thing to tell anybody. In my fantasies of how that conversation might play out, it wasn't ever a conversation where we were speaking on an equal footing. My convert was always gently curious about Jesus. They were amazed at how I had it all figured out, and they never argued or questioned anything, which is pretty much exactly how Michael feels about Leanne in The Blind Side. For The Blind Side to work, Michael had to be the ideal fantasy convert, which translates into essentially being an empty vessel who needs to be rescued from his life outside of Christian culture and from Christian culture itself, at least at first. And interestingly, Leanne never has to go out into the world and make the world a better place, unless for some reason you count that scene where she threatens to execute some random black guy who calls her a bitch.
I'm in a prayer group with the DA. I'm a member of the NRA, and I'm always packing.
No. The world is beyond saving, apparently. And even the church is too comfortable to achieve anything real. The best that a real Christian can do, the most radical revolution that The Blind Side can imagine, is a Christian who absorbs a tiny piece of the world into her private, gigantic home.